Good afternoon, everyone. Many thanks for joining us today for this session on the rise of virtual retail. I am Abhilasha, your moderator for this session. I work with the Marketing and Communication Division at Denave. And on the presenter's side, we have with us today Ritu Rastogi. She's Global Head Business Development at Denave. And she looks after new client acquisition as well as the launch of new service lines in line with the market trends for Denave at a global level. Apart from Ritu, we also have Abhinav Thatai as a co-presenter today. Abhinav is part of the solutions team at Denave, and he looks closely at generating new opportunities for all the new existing as well as the new service lines that we launch. So Ritu and Abhinav, do you want to say a quick hi to our audience?
Hello and good afternoon, and thank you so much for taking out the time to come. We look forward to an engaging session. Welcome.
Afternoon, everyone. Sorry if we are eating up in the lunchtime of anyone, but we'll make sure this session is engaging enough. So yes, without any further delay, let's get started.
Yeah, thank you, Ritu, and thank you, Abhinav. So now, since you're going about introduction, Ritu, Abhinav, I'll just take quick 2 more minutes, maybe 1 minute precisely. So a quick brief introduction about Denave as well for our audience. So Denave is a 21-year-old Indian sales tech MNC. And it in all these 21 years throughout innovation and a very keen focus on being ROI driven has been the guiding pillars for Denave. And with that, the business model of the company is focused upon strengthening the seller's journey at every stage with the help of its services, which are aligned with every stage of the sales cycle. And in terms of the audience segment, if you may think, so sales being a horizontal function, it cuts across industry domains, and so does the market segment, the target audience for Denave. If you talk about Indian market scenario, Denave has been heavily focusing upon technology as well as retail throughout all these years and even now. And in fact, in today's session as well, Ritu and Abhinav will be delving deeper into one of the major paradigm shift which is happening in the retail ecosystem in the present scenario. I hope I'm setting the context.
Right. Yes, that's right, Abhilasha. There's a lot of, with every change is an opportunity for something new. So, we look forward to the session and sharing what is in store for the new retail.
Yeah, same here, Ritu. So over to you, Ritu, now. I think we can begin.
Thank you so much, Abhilasha. And just to look at the lives and the scenario that we are in today. So the word disruption has taken on an entirely new meaning as the world and all of us are navigating through this pandemic phase. And nothing in our lives has impacted or transformed our lives to the extent that this pandemic has. Now, with social distancing, stay at home, lockdowns being the norm of the day, every facet of our life today, be it social, be it professional, be it personal, has been impacted. So I'm sure all of you are with me and have experienced that we're witnessing disruption everywhere. So, and disruption and changes which we would have never imagined a few months from now. Education having seen the biggest transformation where what was just about a 3% of the education segment that was online to a complete shift where schools and classes are now conducted virtually with schools being shut and such a huge shift at that. Supply chains have got completely disrupted. We are seeing closer to customer as the focus. Farmers that are in fact reaching out to end customers directly and supplying their products, their produce. FMCG companies going on mobile and trying to reach closer to the customer at their doorstep.
Sorry for cutting you in between. The slides are not moving. I think we'll have to.
Okay, let me just give me a minute. Sorry about that. Okay, so we were talking about all the changes in our lives today. So supply chains coming closer. In fact, the bank ATMs have got mobile, and they are now at the doorstep and attending to customers so that the customers don't have to step out of their houses. So that is the kind of change that we are seeing around ourselves. Now, retail has also seen a major shift, and retail too has been impacted. And while there is a clear demand for discretionary essentials in a customer's, whether there's a clear demand, but there are apprehensions in a customer's mind, and reasonably so, for stepping out of the house and moving into crowded places like malls, retail outlets, etc. And on top of it, the sheer discomfort of having to wear gloves, masks, and so many other considerations in our mind in terms of avoiding a close proximity, that people really prefer to stay at home. So while the new guidelines of social distancing hits at the very fabric of our DNA for social interaction, technology has helped to bring about some semblance of a kind of a human interaction in our day-to-day lives through virtual and through video. Now, look at the kind of virtual adoption we are seeing. We are doing our seminars over a video call the way we are doing right now. Meetings are being conducted over a video. School lessons are being done over a video call. So much so, a doctor's consultation is now happening over a call, rock concerts. So virtual and video is everywhere. And the statistics or the data says that there's been about 1,000% increase in virtual connects from March 2020, and it has penetrated in every single facet of our life. So that's been a bit of a lifesaver for us in this scenario. However, there is still one gap that needs to be plugged, and that is in the case of a traditional shopper who still prefers that guidance and that interaction to make a purchase decision, and yet is very hesitant in today's scenario to step out of their homes. So the question is, how do we plug that gap? So for the brands as well as for the brands and for retail, there definitely is a challenge, in that present ecosystem. So Abhinav, can you share through some insights and share some light on what is the scenario looking like for the business? And folks, before Abhinav comes in, just let you know, Abhinav is our, like the think tank at Denave, the guy with doing all the research and all the data. So just think, we should give Abhinav this opportunity to talk about all his research on that front.
Yeah,
over to you, Abhinav.
Thanks, Ritu, for that. So I believe I'm not the only one who's reading about all this changing shifts in the retail and everything, and I'm sure everyone in that NDR are equally cognizant of what the retail is going through. So that if you pick up some of the think tanks, for instance, if you talk about ET Retail, they're already stating that almost 20% of the retail shops are expected to shut down. And so more so that 9 days before they said that if the lockdown is being spread out till June also, almost 30% of the shop will go out of business, right? That obviously, no matter how many is the leftover, it creates a huge supply, pressure on the supply chain. And also another statistic is that just 4 days old, almost wipe out of a revenue or a wipe out of business is of the amount of 5.5 lakh crores. 5.5 lakh crores is being wiped out in the last 40 days itself. So these are the two statistics. And the last and the foremost important, that we all know that, yes, why can't we go e-commerce? Why can't we go Amazon, Flipkart way? Yes, e-com itself has, evolved, but is e-com an absolute alternative? No, it's not. So if you go by the IBEF report, which is Brand Equity Foundation, they say that till March 2020, only 7% e-com was holding the share for all the retail market, right? And if that goes up to, let's say, 20-25% also, that still leaves a sizable chunk, which is like 70-75% for traditional retail, which is a huge sizable chunk for us. So as I said, I'm not reading the data alone, but that's just a quick snippet of what we're seeing in the market day in, day out.
That's right. Okay, thanks for that, Abhinav. And yes, with every uncertainty, there are opportunities, but just to look at a brand's mind map and what are the top challenges in their mind and what can be a possible solution. So The first and foremost, the challenge in a brand's mind today is that low footfalls in retail anticipated due to all these restrictions. And in fact, even when when at the time we got all of you, our audience, to share some of their inputs in terms of what were the topmost challenges in your in your mind as a brand, almost 93% respondents said that low footfall is one of the chief concern, and understandably so. So with all the social distancing guidelines, the challenge for the brand is how do I engage with the customer that still needs that guidance before purchase, and is the kind of customer whom I can convert in favor of my brand. So if there is the solution is that if brands can virtually engage with the customer in the safety and comfort of their homes, and provide all the information and all the convenience that they need for a sales conversion. So that is an aspect that can take care of this challenge. The other challenge for brands is how do I convert a customer who still prefers traditional retail but is hesitant to walk into a store. So like Abhinav said, a huge chunk of consumers who are still inclined towards traditional retail and need that kind of a guidance to make the purchase. So the brands can engage with customers. If the brands can engage with customers without their need to walk into a store physically, and provide that one-on-one engagement to personalized engagement to convert into a sale. So that is a solution in which this challenge can be addressed. The next and a very crucial and a very critical challenge in a brand's mind today is how do I safeguard my ROI and and drive operational efficiencies. Now, with the way things are going, and with even the ET data that the news that Abhinav spoke about, brands might need to reprioritize their retail investments in terms of the count of retail outlets, or shutting down certain retail outlets where they feel that they're not really able to get that kind of meet that kind of an ROI. And the concern will be that I reduce my footprint. How do I still reach out to the customer where I don't have a presence any longer? So that is one concern. The other is that brands are investing in in-store personnel. And the question is today, how do I optimize the productivity of my in-store staff, where at one point you would have, let's say, 10, 15, 20, 30 walk-ins coming into your store, and all of that 10 hours of the ISD or in-store demonstrators productive time getting utilized in handling those walk-ins. With the drop that is anticipated in retail, what do we do with the rest of the time? How do I engage them effectively, and how do the in-store guys make their incentives? So that's another challenge which is plaguing brands today. So if there is a way to virtually engage with customers through the virtual sales model and still reach out to them, brands have a lot of tangible benefits. One is that they can still drive a deeper market penetration despite or irrespective of having a brick and mortar presence. So as a brand, you might not have a presence in a particular area, or you might reduce your footprint in a particular area, but you will still be able to reach out to a wide range of customers through this virtual sales model. Another very interesting and tangible benefit for the brands is that even in cities where they did not have a presence in the first place, so let's say tier 3 or tier 4 city, and a city which comes to my mind is Katni in Madhya Pradesh, for example. A lot of business houses there, people who have the purchasing power, they would still like to make that purchase and buy your product. But since you're not present in that location as a brand, they might not have access to your product launches and access to having that interaction with you to make that purchase. So through the virtual sales model, this important aspect also gets taken care of and really increases the brand's coverage, even where they did not have one to begin with. And secondly, on the in-store promoters, there needs to be a way to reduce the dependency on physical interaction and replace those walk-ins by another methodology where they can engage with customers, virtually, and thereby make use of optimize their productivity. Last but not the least, very interesting. A customer persona for brands is the casual browsing but the store hopping kinds, people who are purchase ready customers, but they would still like to hop from and browse from store to store, brand to brand, get the best possible offer, and and need to have that very very clear understanding of the features and benefits, and then make the purchase. So these casual browsing shoppers would be used to be a very captive audience for brands when they were walking into into malls and having that tendency to move out the house and explore. But with the current restrictions, that is definitely expected to limit, and brands can still capture this purchase ready casual browsing customer if they have a mechanism to engage virtually, without the customer to having to walk into a store. So there is a challenge, there is a problem, but then that the beauty of life is that with every problem comes a solution. So that's where this seems to be where we are heading. So with this need for making the shift from physical to virtual comes this brand new avatar of virtual brand consultant. So it's an installed sales promoter that now, and the new avatar that you see is a virtual brand consultant. And several issues that this BBC can now take care of. Firstly, safety being the foremost concern in a customer's mind today, in terms of does not want interaction and least of all with strangers, and the sheer discomfort of stepping out of the house wearing gloves, masks, the thought about, am I standing at 6 feet away from this store person, did I touch a knob which somebody else might have, and so many apprehensions in our minds today, right? So we through this virtual retail model, or through a VBC, this aspect of a customer's concern is taken care of. They still get that personalized attention. They still get that guidance that they need for making the purchase without having to step into a store. The other aspect that can be of a benefit to the brand is that through this model, brands can have the opportunity of having an entire extended product line available at a particular store. So let's say you decide on deploying VBC at certain retail stores. Make sure that your extended product line is in stock at that store. So when a customer calls in and when a demo has to be given to the customer, there is we completely avoid a situation where a customer is looking for a particular model or a SKU and which is not available at the store, and then either they move on to another store or to another brand, and brands will, and you lose that opportunity for making a sale. So that is one aspect this takes care of. For the brand, the VBC is able to drive the entire last mile. So just like an ISD did in terms of engaging with the customer, negotiating and closing the deal, this very same journey can be done through a VBC. So they will help drive their entire last mile for the brand. And one of the very interesting aspects that we had just spoken about, it helps brand expand their reach, irrespective of a brick and mortar presence. So you could very well have a VBC deployed at a store in Delhi, probably talking to somebody and converting a customer in Alwar. So you can have that kind of a coverage in this model, and moreover, due to the various touch points in this model, the opportunity for a brand to capture customer preferences, this model can really help customer insights, and which can be very, very valuable to a brand for designing product as well as sales and marketing strategies. So it will help a brand come far, far closer to customer insights than any other model or retail model that we have, that we've experienced. So typically, I hope my slides are moving.
Yeah, it's moving fine. Yep.
Okay. So let's look at the customer persona that we are addressing through this model. Very, very clearly, a youth segment, people who are still inclined towards traditional retail and a very, very deep-rooted inclination and need that personal interaction. Then your casual browsing customer who needs that kind of a product comparison and information before making the purchase. They're making purchase. Next is customers who are remotely located, whom as a brand you would have ever would not have had an opportunity to engage with one-on-one anyways. That can be done through this model. And last but not the least, again, a very can be a sizable chunk of customers who still prefer to make the payment post a physical inspection at delivery. So if you've ordered for a washing machine, or it's your dishwasher that is getting delivered, you might want to really check and see that is this completely that's just an example, but in any case, for before purchase or before installing any product, completely get a sense and be reassured that it is not damaged, and then make the purchase. So whether the need is scheduled or impulsive, it could be new or replacement or upgrade that these customers need. It addresses this really huge chunk of customer persona. Abhinav, if you can just take us on the journey of a customer, and what are the challenges, and let us see if we are able to address those challenges for you.
Sure. As a customer, if I say for the very first time, what are the challenges of me? Because I'm e-commerce savvy any which way. So first thing, I don't want to step out of these four walls that I'm sitting in. I don't want to step out. So what is my ways of connecting with the brand? So secondly, something which is very of paramount important, are I'm connecting with the brand at my convenience, or is it I'm getting a personalized guidance? Because in e-com, obviously, I will not get a personalized guidance. If I'm buying a dishwasher, what is the size? It's imperative for me to know that, right? And lastly, will I get a best offer? Will I get a guaranteed delivery? Not a tempered box, broken box, anything like that. These would be my apprehensions precisely.
Absolutely. So I think we've already answered some of those questions of apprehension in a customer's mind, because connecting and completing the complete sales journey without having to step out of your house, without having to come close with a complete stranger, all of that can be very well addressed through this model. So essentially, what this model does for retail is that augments walk-ins with call-ins. So here is, we are not, we reduce the dependency on only having customers who are physically walking into a store, but we augment that with customers who also have the option of calling in and interacting with the store through a video call, and cover a larger section of customers. Moving on, let us get into a little bit into the nuts and bolts about how the virtual sales model comes into execution. Here's a look at the present scenario, where we have the OEM, brand, distributor, retail exclusive, the retail store, whether it is an exclusive store or LFR, any category of retail, and then obviously connecting to the customer. So with the present ecosystem, in the present scenario, we've seen a bit of a kind of a drop here in this connect from the store to the customer. And the evolving scenario is for the retail brands to engage with the customer through a virtual brand consultant who is deployed at the store, and handling customer walk-ins if they are physically walking into a store, but also being able to connect virtually over a video call with a customer who prefers to have to connect from their home, and they do not want to step out. So it's a no touch connect with customer that can be that is a part of the evolving scenario, and where customers has a need to buy, the entire transaction gets done just as it would if they had walked into a store, and if not, then the VBC can always follow up after a stipulated time in terms of with maybe a new offer, or just to seek the customer's interest in making that sales closure. So that is one way that it fits into the present scenario. Very interesting, and that the brands can use in this model is they can have demo only stores. Like I have a store which only caters to call-ins, where you as a brand can have your extended product line there It can be at a place where the retail or the real estate cost is not very high. You're able to build that kind of an infrastructure, have all your products displayed, have VBCs who are specially trained in certain product lines, and right from the low end products right up to your most premium range. The entire range can get displayed there, and you have customers who are calling in from all over the all over the place, and they can be catered to. So that's another option that brands can exercise in this model. So next question can be, how will brands create awareness about virtual retail? How do we let our customers know that, okay, there is an option for you to not step into my store, but engage with VBC virtually? So just like is business as usual, just like brands connect with the customers today through digital and social outreach, through print ads, web pages, brand communication campaigns, just like that, this model fits absolutely seamlessly into that, that awareness campaigns that the brands will have, or the awareness plan. And, we kind of called it an alternate retail model. It could be, are we looking at something like a V-retail after e-retail? You never know. But the way this can reach out to customers, simply business as usual for a brand. So just sharing a few examples on the social platform through LinkedIn, and this is some work that brands already are doing through Facebook or WhatsApp or print ads, and also in terms of on the website where customers can book a live demo with an expert. So just sharing some of the activities which is already being undertaken by brands for virtual retail. So how it works, and here is the nuts and bolts getting a little tighter now, so please bear with me. I know we can't live our lives without flowcharts, but this is the way it can work, is that there will be demo inquiries that come into a brand. Now the inquiry can either be digital, where you go on a website, you're on Facebook and you say that X brand, you can connect over or a video call. So you click on that, you submit your form, you fix a time for a demo, and all of that gets captured. That's one way. The second way, while we need to, it's very important to look at the entire fabric of Indian society, look at all kinds of customer persona. There are some who are very, very very comfortable going on the net and fixing the demo and having putting in information. There are still some customers who prefer to put in a phone call and talk to somebody on the other side, and to help them through that entire demo setting phase. And so two ways, you have a kind of a digital input coming in. You also have inbound input coming in. All the information that comes onto a CRM tool, and information captured about customer in terms of what are the product they're interested in. A very interesting aspect we can plug in is the reason for buying. Is it new upgrade or replacement? Also, are they considering any other brands? Because this gives you a very, very important insight into a customer's persona and also the kind of preferences that they're showing. And finally, with that information which is coming in, it is moving into a virtual brand consultant allocated to a VBC as per, you could have all, algorithms built in as per a PIN code or an area, regional language, specific to the brand, and how the entire approach has to be designed. And the inquiries come into specific VBCs as per a pre-planned or a pre-decided way, and then the VBC engages with the customer, and the entire conversation and the purchase gets done. However, there are some very, very specific key success drivers that definitely need to be in place and need to be nailed in for a successful virtual sales, virtual retail engine, and for any sales engine for that matter. So the first and foremost is retail operations and sales management. And brands need to drive retail excellence and operational efficiencies to provide that top-notch brand experience to the customer. So the customer is not in your store, but at the same time, despite having a virtual engagement, you need to make sure that you're providing that top-notch experience to the customer, and the impact for the brand has to be measured through sales. Now, all the elements of retail operations in terms of promoter performance management, stock management, all of that is a part of retail sales operations that need to be managed. However, a very important element specifically in virtual retail is the fact that VBC training and readiness has to be really looked into with a great deal of detailing, because what we're talking about is a complete transformation of an in-store person or a sales promoter from physical to virtual. So it's a complete transformation. It's a completely new environment for the salesperson because they are engaging virtually, as well as for the customer. So there's a training element required in terms of how should the demo calls be set up, what is the way that a VBC should engage with the customer to have a very engaging conversation and also give customer the best experience. Sales skills, product information, all of that is given. But other than that, how are you setting up the demo? How is the lighting? In terms of props for setting up the demo, have a tripod, your phone or an iPad or a tablet, which is at what distance. All of that is the readiness and training that is a very key element in this engine that needs to go into place. At the backbone of the engine, and like any other engine, there has to be a very, very robust technology platform, so that end to end, the entire process is completely stitched right from the time that inquiries come in to the time it gets passed on to the VBC, to the time a demo is given, finally converting into sale, so that at every step we are able to monitor and track how the program is moving, have a very comprehensive view, giving a very comprehensive view to the program owner on what is working, what is not working, and for them to take corrective action. And the beauty of this model is, since so much of information is coming into the system virtually, some bit on a digital platform, and also having a very strong tool that captures information at every step, brands can have access to insights and information like never before. So while earlier, you would have a walk into your store, but let's say if I walked into your store, Abhinav walked into your store, you would finally know Abhinav when he has made if he has made the purchase and the final billing gets done. But to have an access to who were the other 2-3 people who walked in, what was their persona like, why did they not buy, why did they move out? So there is so much of information that can be completely captured in this model, because you will know how many people are coming in from a digital platform, how many coming through inbound, how many bookings got done for consultation with the VBC, finally how many demos were given and to whom, and the sale that was being made and to whom, and also customers, what were the kind of other preferences that they had. So all of that information that can get captured if you have a really robust and strong technology tool, which on top of which there needs to be very, very clearly a strong analytics engine, so that all this data can be utilized for giving very, very keen insights on what is working, what is not working, and how should you as a brand plan your product sales and marketing strategies. Last but not the least, we are talking about driving a lot of inbound traffic into this engine, and a very, very strong agile digital strategy is key to ensuring that you have a sustained engagement or a consistent traffic that comes into this engine. So essentially, these 5 key pillars that sales personnel, retail, business heads need to keep in mind for a successful and a robust engine. So that's where we are. Total focus, that is what brands need in terms of their customer preferences and all the factors that we talked about. Agility, be open-minded to staying on top of the game, and that's any change that comes our way can be managed, handled with ease.
Thank you for being such a lovely and patient and engaging audience today. Take care, stay safe, and have a happy weekend. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, and bye, everyone.
Thank you.